Alright, so picking up where we left off. Alright, we've got each of these various levels and we're going to put various things in them. So I'm going to go to the actual persistent level, which will be your main level, whatever you chose. That'll be your master level. And in case you don't know how to add levels to it, let's say you create a bunch of empty maps, right? And you want to add these to this as sublevels. You click here and you can go add existing, and then you can just select like that, like hold down shift and select in all the ones that you want, whatever, and then just click open and it'll add them all down to here and populate the list. One thing to make sure of is under this levels drop down. Oh, and if you don't have this levels menu, there is an option, hang on, let me find it, for window, and you can pick levels right here, and it'll pop up a window and then you can just dock it wherever you want. I'm having to readjust this border here because it's hard to see. Okay, so then what we're going to do is you're going to go into your master level once you have all these sub-levels. And after you've moved geometry and lights and all that, you moved them all into their individual boxes that they need to go into, we're going to go ahead and open up the level blueprint for the persistent level. Make sure that you're double checked or clicked onto it. Make sure you're not on one of those, you're on your main one. You're going to go ahead and open this, and this is where things will start to get a little bit messy and they won't make quite as much sense until I'm done explaining it. So actually, hang on 1 minute here. I almost forgot that I need to go over what is in your persistent level. The actual persistent level itself is only going to have your loading screen information, and keep it as simple. Oh, and your AI, what do you call it, nav mesh. I don't technically need this, but it was the remnants from my other loading screen. So what you're going to want is you're going to want to make an actor that will be possessible. So I'm not really going to go over how to make one because it's pretty easy to do, but basically I'll go ahead and edit. I'm going to open up this blueprint. It's pretty simple. You're making an actor that is a class of pawns. So if you come in and you create a blueprint class, you're going to make a pawn, which means that you can possess it and all of that jazz. So keep that in mind. So it doesn't have to be a character because you're not really doing anything with it. You just want to make a pawn. And in here, this is really all you need to handle the rotation. Just add in something like this to it. You're gonna want a spring arm and a camera. Hang on, I gotta cough. So you're gonna want a spring arm in here, and one big key thing for the spring arm is you're gonna want to make sure you use pawn control rotation. It's important. Because this will enable you to move it with the camera, or move the camera with the mouse. And if it's not enabled, then you won't be able to move it at all, and you'll be wondering why. But I added in some basic code for zooming in and out. I'm not going to explain it. This isn't that kind of a tutorial. So moral of the story is just make something with that can handle some rotation and that has something to it. So in this case, I just put some big fancy particle emitter. I put a camera with a focal point at it, and that's that. So I offset the armature to kind of give it a stylized off to the side look. So but make sure it's a pawn, and you're going to want to put in like just for safety here, because sometimes things will bug out, and you do technically first load the level as your player. That's why I've got one of these here from when it was remnants of something else. You could disable gravity. You could do whatever the hell you want. It's up to you. In technicality, this thing won't fall if I delete this, but it's not hurting anything to be there. Like I can. Oh, never mind. I don't want to delete that because I do it in the blueprint anyway. So, yeah, and then you're gonna want to add in some. In this case, I put in some atmospheric fog, to kind of give it some cool look there, and angled it around to kind of give this a bloody horizon here. So in this level, there's only this fog, this blocking volume, that pawn, this load screen pawn, but it's not really needed. We can just delete that technically, but nav mesh volume and the recast and the player start. So in the regular level, when you have everything exposed, if I can do this all at once, that would be a miracle, but apparently I can't. When you have everything in the level, this is absolutely important. Make sure everything is enabled. Go up to build. Build your nav mesh. Your nav mesh is in your persistent level, but you need to make sure that it encompasses everything inside of your sublevels. This is where things get really buggy, and that's why I had to redo the way that I made this entire thing, this loading screen thing, because this would bug out. You would go to cook the packages or package your game, and it would screw everything up because you had to do all this roundabout crap. You'd have to disable auto regenerating the nav meshes and all this stuff, and it just was so much hassle to deal with. And so yeah, you build, you make sure your persistent level is selected, you make sure everything's visible, and you build. And then make sure, absolutely sure, that nav mesh volume is in your persistent level. So from there, in the persistent level, that's all you're going to really have in here. You're going to keep that player spawn point that's in your real level. You're going to, have an actor or pawn. Like I said, these don't have to be here. I can technically delete them, but I'm not going to do it right now. And just some stylistic stuff. It doesn't matter. So after you have all of that, that's when we enter into the persistent levels blueprint. So we're going to need a few things. We're going to need a list of the sublevels, and you make a variable of the name type, set it to an array, and then go in and add in all of your levels. Well, technically the order that you want to load them in. Add in all of the sublevels that you need. You're going to need a variable for how many, basically a progress of how many have you loaded, and then you're going to need a boolean for breaking the loop of loading each individual segment, and it's going to have a default value of false. So the next video, I'm just going to tackle loading all of the level and all the logic behind it, and then that should be that. So I'll see you in the next video.